I believe the sound may have a small delay, but it's almost 7:05. So let's start. So we are starting the conference, the Microsoft Malta Data Platform User Group After Party, Build After Party. The idea is to share information from the Build conference, share with you new information about new products announced during the Build conference. In fact, I will focus on the Microsoft Fabric product. Microsoft Fabric is an incredible new product announced by Microsoft during the Build conference. So, who am I? This is me. My name is Denis Torres. I'm a data platform MVP living in Malta. I work on the Tower software. I'm a trainer. I deliver Microsoft trainings. I have many Microsoft certifications, and I'm the user group leader of Malta Data Platform User Group. You can see on the screen my contacts. Feel free to get in touch, stay in touch, and stay connected on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and so on. It will be a pleasure to stay connected. It will be a pleasure to stay connected. So this is our user group, Malta Microsoft Data Platform User Group. We have a meetup. You are all invited to join our meetup. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group, a page for some announcements where I publish some content of the group, and a Facebook group intended for everyone to participate, everyone to start conversations on the Facebook group. And we have a WhatsApp group with some members. We have a group on WhatsApp intended to make technical conversation about data platform and Microsoft data platform products. And you have a YouTube channel where I publish the recordings of the technical sessions I deliver. The recording of this session will be available on the YouTube channel in a few days. So, I'll start first with a demonstration. Microsoft Fabric is a so incredible product that I prefer to start directly with a demonstration. And then during the demonstration, I will highlight some interesting points related to Microsoft Fabric. But at this point, you may be asking, oh, what are you doing inside Power BI? Aren't you going to demonstrate the Microsoft Fabric? Yes, but Microsoft Fabric in some ways is incorporating Power BI. Power BI is the first one being affected by the transformation brought by Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric is incorporating Power BI. Power BI doesn't change too much. It has new features, new resources, but doesn't change too much. But all the resources on the Power BI portal, the supporting resources intending to be a backbone for the Power BI, they belong now to Microsoft Fabric. They will not be a backbone only to Power BI. They will be a backbone for the entire Microsoft Fabric. Examples of this that I'm talking. Some examples how Microsoft Fabric is incorporating Power BI. First, there is a news from Microsoft that Power BI Administrator role will be renamed to become Fabric Administrator. So there is not a Power BI Administrator role anymore. Power BI Administrator becomes Fabric Administrator. So the intention is that the backbone services on the Power BI portal becomes Fabric services. Power BI is being incorporated by Microsoft Fabric. It's becoming one tool belonging to Microsoft Fabric. Another example is the Microsoft Fabric community. This is an example of the Microsoft Fabric community, which is including the Power BI community. To move a community from one place to another is quite difficult. It's not an easy task. So the change on the Power BI community is not complete. But the idea is that the Power BI community will become one internal community inside the Microsoft Fabric community. That's the idea. So I will start the demonstration creating a workspace. Malta Fabric demonstration. Malta Fabric demo. I'm using a Microsoft Fabric trial. Everyone can get a Fabric trial. I have a blog post explaining how do you get a Fabric trial and how do you configure a Fabric trial in your environment. In the end, I will show the links of this blog post. So here we have a trial. It's interesting to highlight this box, the concept of domain. This starts from the theory of data mesh. We are talking about data mesh theory. Yes, Microsoft Fabric is an extremely powerful tool to make data mesh implementation. Let me make a confession. I read, I completely read the entire article about data mesh when data mesh was launched. When data mesh was launched, let's say created. When data mesh was created, I read both articles. And my conclusion was that the idea of data mesh was very important, but the proposal of implementation, how to technically implement data mesh was not complete. It would be very difficult to implement data mesh on the way proposed on those articles. And I can say that the Microsoft Fabric is changing my mind. Changing my mind, not in relation to what the method provided on the article. The Microsoft Fabric provides a different architecture and a series of backbone services that can make a data mesh implementation very easily. So this is already something let's say incredible, but I'm not using incredible too much. Otherwise, I use this word too much during the session. But the fact that the Power BI environment is becoming Microsoft Fabric capable of making a data mesh implementation is very attractive. So I'm creating a trial workspace for Microsoft Fabric. Apply. Here. So here I have a trial workspace. And how this works? This seems like a Power BI workspace. Yes, this seems like a Power BI workspace. But everything was built in such a way that every professional will see the work related to itself and will not focus on the work related to other professionals. So this is called experience. Different experience inside the Power BI environment. So we have these experiences. Power BI experience is the one that every Power BI user already knows. Data Factory, yes. Azure Data Factory is being incorporated inside Microsoft Fabric and you'll be able to work with it from the Power BI portal. data engineering, data warehouse. What this means? This means that I can create a lake house or I can create a data warehouse. I can choose which one I would like to create. I can choose between create a lake house or a warehouse. And I can work with real-time analytics, ingesting real-time data, and I can work with data science. I can make Azure ML work from inside Power BI, work with data science over the data on the lake. Let's start with data engineering experience. So this is the view of the data engineering experience. Well, this is a preview of the Microsoft Fabric, which was released, the public preview was released during build. It has about 2 weeks. So we may expect that this view, this window, will improve a lot. I expect it. But what we can do on this preview, you may be noticing the options that we have here. They are very attractive. Let's start with a lake house. Yes, a lake house. I built a lake house inside the Power BI environment. Let's call this lake house, sorry, Malta Lake. Create. So we are creating a lake house inside the Power BI environment. And inside the lake house, we have a files area and a tables area. The files area is intended to be the area where we put our raw data. We ingest files directly in the files area, maybe in Parquet format, maybe in other kinds of formats. You can choose the format you use to ingest the data inside the files area. So you can choose the format you use for that. The tables area, on the other hand, is intended to be a bit more relational, to allow relational operations over the data that we ingest inside the lakehouse. After all, the lakehouse is announced as a mix between the relational and the lake. That's the idea, a mix between the relational and the lake. So we ingest files, and then we can make some relational work with them on the tables area. The tables area has some optimizations which are capable to make a regular delta storage 10 times faster. I'm not saying that this is a new kind of storage. No, the storage is completely and absolutely compatible with the Delta format, but it can be 10 times faster than a regular Delta storage. So let's start ingesting data. So we'll start creating a new data pipeline. Data pipeline, yes, but data pipeline is something from Data Factory. Yes, data factory. We are seeing a data factory object, a data factory pipeline inside the Power BI environment. So here from the Power BI environment, I create a data factory pipeline. Ingest worldwide importers and create. Many people would say, oh, this is just a mix of a lot of tools that we were using isolated. We were isolated, using every tool isolated, and now we can use all the tools together inside the old Power BI environment, which is now the Microsoft Fabric environment. Well, even if it were only this, only merging the old tools, this would already be something absolutely great. This would already be absolutely great. But it's more than that. Look to this wizard. This wizard is better than what we had in Data Factory. We have new resources on each tool which is joining the Microsoft Fabric environment. Let's select the option to ingest from Azure Blob Storage. Here, I can use an existing connection or I can create a new connection. I can choose about using an existing connection or create a new connection. If I choose using an existing connection, where these connections come from? Well, the Power BI environment works as a backbone for the Microsoft Fabric. Is the backbone area for Microsoft Fabric. And one recent new feature that Power BI got was the connection management. Connection management was way improved. In fact, I published a blog post about this, about connection management in Power BI today in Simple Talk. Later, you can access some links in Simple Talk and take a look there. But here, I will create a new connection to show how simple it is to create a new connection, create something new. I'll connect your blob storage. Which blob storage? I'm getting an address which has sample data provided by Microsoft. I already used this address before on other demonstrations, so the wizard is telling me, you already used this. It's exactly this other connection here. Why don't we use the connect? It's what the wizard is telling me. But I'm a bit stubborn and I will insist in create a new connection. And I'll create my Malta Worldwide Importers connection. The authentication is anonymous to this address and next. The wizard is trying to make a connection to this address to retrieve the data from this address. Let's wait just a moment while the wizard is trying to make the connection itself. So we are seeing that the data factory now is working inside Power BI. Yes, it's working inside Power BI. It's interesting because Power BI always had data Power Query, which was the ETL tool. The ETL tool for Power BI. And we use Power Query in data flows, in data marts, and so on. And now we have Data Factory. So what is happening is that both tools are merging and becoming one single tool, Microsoft Data Factory, which is a part of the Microsoft Fabric and joins the power of Power Query and the Azure Data Factory. So it's becoming Microsoft Data Factory, a part of Microsoft Fabric. Let's see the result of the wizard. The wizard is saying that it's unable to list the files. Yes, I was expecting for that because the initial address that I provided to the wizard don't give me permission to list the files. And this shows how powerful is this wizard, because in many other situations, I would be getting strange error message. But on this situation, the wizard is telling me, oh, maybe your address is incomplete or something like that. Would you like to try to define a different path? To give me a different path to try? Oh yes, try this other different path. So I'm pointing the wizard exactly to where the files are and asking the wizard to retry. Try to access the data again. And now the wizard managed to access the data. And I can see the folders called full and incremental. Inside the folder full, I have many folders, each one represents a table, and these tables are in Parquet format. Each folder has many Parquet files. Parquet is not the default, it comes to the limited test, so I need to change the format to see the data on each folder. So yes, I'm using an ingestion wizard already able to see the data, define the format of the data out in the wizard. And we saw before that in our lakehouse, we have the files area intended for raw data, and we have the tables area intended for data that I model in a more relational way. I can import to the files area or to the tables area. But if I decide to import to the tables area, I need to import the tables one by one. One by one. If I decide to import to the files area, I can import an entire folder. I can point to the folder full and choose the option. No, I'm not specifying a schema. I'm making just a binary copy. Just make a binary copy of all the folder that you are finding. I'm not specifying a schema. And remind that this tool is still in preview. So, some small problems happen. Okay, so I make a binary copy. Next. And it's asking to where I'm making the binary copy, because what I'm doing in this wizard is to create a pipeline. The pipeline is asking me to where are you would you like to drop this file? Where would you like to drop this data? In an existing lakehouse, or would you like to create a new lakehouse now? I could have started using the data factory experience, for example. No, but I started from data engineering, created the pipeline, so my lakehouse is already here. So an existing lakehouse. Choose the destination. The point is, since I chose to make a binary copy, I can choose tables. I don't have tables as an option. So you see the tables are disabled. I can't choose tables as an option. I can only choose files, not tables. If I had already many folders path defined, I could choose the path where I would put the file, but in my case, it will be the root folder. And I can immediately start the transfer of these files. And this is a data factory pipeline. If you already use the data factory, you may be noticing something very familiar. Is a copy activity, and the copy activity is being executed, and the data factory pipeline is being executed and bringing data from an external storage, an external blob storage, to inside my lakehouse, which is inside the Power BI portal, which I bet in some time, in a very short period, the Power BI portal will become Microsoft Fabric portal. Would you bet? I bet that. So here you see the data copied, and doesn't this resembles the data factory, because it is data factory inside Power BI. And it's only a start, because I can build data flows. More than that, I said every tool included in the Microsoft Fabric receive new features. Yes, new features. If I decide to create a data flow, I can create a data flow Gen 2. Yes, Generation 2 data flows are available in public preview together Microsoft Fabric. They are available. Okay, so let's get back to our lake house, which is Malta Lake. And now in our lake house, I can see the folders. The folders I brought, all of them with Parquet files. The fact that I'm using folders with Parquet files is only a small detail. I could have used any source for that. I could have used SQL or any source you can imagine. I could have used it for that. If you are familiar with data lakes, you are familiar with folders with Parquet files. If not, the fact is that each folder itself is like a table, behaves like a table, and we can get the data from these folders. But at the moment, what we'll do is to transform these folders into tables to work with these folders in a more relational way. I'll make a transformation from this folder into tables to make this more relational work. So I will go again to the data engineering experience. And to make this transformation, I hope that in a close future, we'll have a user interface option, some right click and convert the table to convert the folder to table. I hope we'll have that in the future. But at the moment, I need to use a notebook. I need to use a notebook to make the conversion of the folders to tables. So I will upload a notebook, a sample notebook to create the Delta tables. So I read the Parquet folders and transform the folders which are in simple Parquet format. I will transform them in Delta format. So I imported the notebook. Where I imported the notebook? I imported the notebook to inside the workspace in the Power BI environment. If you are paying a lot of attention, you may have noticed the name of the data engineering experience. The name of the data engineering experience is Synapse Data Engineering. Is this starting to replace Synapse? Well, we could discuss a lot about this. We could discuss a lot about if this is starting to replace Synapse or not. But the point is that if not now, because it's in fact a public preview, in the future, Microsoft Fabric has all the potential to completely replace Azure Synapse Analytics. So this is something you need to think about. Okay, but what we did was to import a notebook. We need to return to our workspace. No, is here. Our workspace, Malta Fabric demo, and inside the workspace we find the notebook that we imported. So let's open the notebook. We are seeing a notebook inside Power BI. Yes, we are seeing a notebook, a PySpark notebook inside Power BI environment. Inside the Power BI environment, that's what we have. A PySpark notebook inside the Power BI environment. But I just opened the notebook. So it's basically asking me, okay, which lake would you like to use to execute this notebook, to give some context to this notebook? So I can use the add option here, choose an existing lake house, and then choose the Malta Lake. This is the lake that I would like to use as a context for this notebook. That is it. So let's understand what this Spark code does. First, this Spark code makes a special optimization called vOrder. Enable this special optimization in the Delta tables. One optimization called vOrder, which is basically a columnar optimization. If we Google it, we find the documentation for it. Microsoft vOrder Delta Fabric. Here it is, Delta Lake Table Optimization and vOrder. So it's a special optimization made to Delta tables to make them more columnar. Okay, let's get back to our notebook. Another optimization is the optimization of the right of the data that allows us to define the size of the file. This is a common problem when we are saving data file. We have this problem of the size of the file. If the file is too small, we'll have lots of files, and this will make the environment slow. If the file is too big, we'll have very few files with a lot of data, and the environment will be slow in the same way. So we need to carefully manipulate the size of the file, and we are allowed to define the size of the file here. So these optimizations are being done on the first code block. Then on the following code block, I need to adjust the path of the tables. And what is being done here is to read the fact table. This is basically a star schema. I have a fact sale, and then I have many dimensions around this fact: stock item, employee, date, customer, city, and city. So I have a fact and many dimensions around this fact. This is basically a star schema. And I'm importing this star schema, loading the data from the Parquet folder. I'm defining some new columns on this fact table, year, quarter, and month. And I'm writing this in the Delta format, overwriting if it is already there, and defining that this table will be partitioned by year and quarter. Yes, we can make partitioning of one table in Delta, and the table will be partitioned by year and quarter. Let's complete the execution, and I will illustrate what this exactly means for the data itself. And then I'm saving the table inside the tables environment in this lake. Okay, this is the second code block. The third code block has a function definition. And then it creates an array with the name of the dimensions, makes a for loop on the array, and calls the function for each dimension. Basically, what it's doing is to import each one of the dimensions. Import each one of the dimensions as a table to inside the Parquet, the tables environment. To inside the tables environment. And now that we saw all the code blocks that I have in this PySpark script, I will just choose run now, execute everything. If you had previous experience with PySpark, you may notice something is missing. It seems like if something is missing. What is missing? What is missing is that I made no configuration of the Spark pool to execute this. How is this being executed if I never said how was the pool to execute it? If I never even created the pool or restarted the pool, a Spark pool to execute it? I don't need to. I don't need to. Microsoft Fabric uses the concept of live pool. Once I have a workspace linked to the Microsoft Fabric, and that's what we created on the very beginning, creating the workspace linked to Microsoft Fabric, linked to the Microsoft Fabric trial. The workspace has the live pool feature. And the live pool feature means that once I click to execute everything, what will happen is that the live pool will trigger and make the entire execution of the script. So the script is being executed. It's on the second script at the moment. Second code block, I mean. And going to the third code block. For some reason, this was especially slow at this moment, but it's more like a moment of the day. On this, you would need to trust a bit what I said that I saw this running way faster than 1 minute and 18 seconds. This is low. This is low for this execution. I saw this running way faster than previous examples. Okay, but from this, I can just open the tables area, right click, click refresh. And here they are, my tables. Dimension city, dimension date, dimension employee, dimension stock item, and fact sale. What, what is a table? How is the data stored? The data is stored in Delta format. The regular Delta format that we use in a lakehouse. For example, let me go back to the Malta Lake, to the view of the Malta Lake. I was in a notebook. So I'm going back to the complete view of the Malta Lake. And here, if I right-click the fact sale table, it has the option here, View File. I can view the files of the fact sale table. And it already made a preview for me of 1,000 rows of the fact sale. And if I click View Files, I can see exactly what I said. This is the traditional Delta format. And I went directly to the fact sale because the fact sale is the one that I asked to be partitioned. The PySpark script asked this table to be partitioned. So it's partitioned by year, first by year, then by quarter. 1 quarter, second quarter. That's what the script asked, to partition the table, and the partitions become folders for the Parquet files, which are in Delta with the Delta log folder containing the log of a regular Delta table. That's it. So we have a lake house. Yes, we have a lake house. What can we do with a lake house now that we have a lake house inside the Power BI environment? What can we do with this lake house? Take a look here at the top. I have inside the lakehouse, I have one feature called SQL endpoint. Yes, SQL endpoint. The SQL endpoint feature allows us to work with the data in the lakehouse as if I'm working with a database. Now you see the lakehouse in a way more similar format than a regular database. Let's say that I want to execute a query. Okay. I can get the dimension city. I have the state province in dimension city. I can have the fact sale. I have the profit column in the fact sale, and I can run a query for that. How do I run a query for that? Yes, I click in new query and I create a SQL query. I'm creating a SQL query over delta tables inside the lakehouse, which is inside the Power BI environment. So from fact sale in join dimension city on fact sale city key equal dimension city key. Then I'll get the dimension city state province state province, and I'll get the profit field. Let's make a sum of profit of the profit field, and I need to make a group by state province and execute. That's it. I have my total of sales by state. I have my total of sales by state. Of course, the sample data is from United States. Okay. As total, let's give a name for this last column. As total, execute again. That's it. And what if I would like to have this in Excel, for example? Well, we have here the option, download the Excel file. That common request from the users. Could I see this in Excel? Could I see this data in Excel? Yes, you can. Download the Excel file and deliver to the user. That's totally possible. And the Excel file will be accessing the data from the lake. The Excel will be linked to the lake, accessing the data in the lake. This is a query, and I can save this query. Profit by state. So this query is saved in my queries folder. Let me just a moment. Let me just open a zoom tool. So I'm sure I can zoom this and you can see it better. So this query, profit by state, is saved in the My Queries folder here. But we have a shared queries folder. If I would like to share queries with other users from this lakehouse, I can decide that this query is a query that I would like to share. So move to shared queries. There it is. profit by state is not in my queries anymore. It's on shared queries for the lakehouse. Okay. More than that, I have the option also to save as a view. Save as a view, yes. I can create a view inside the lakehouse. Save as a view, let's call VW profit by state. The view has been successfully created. So let's make a refresh here. Some bugs happen. It is insisting to open that. But here you can already see the view. VW profit by state, the view is created. And I used SQL to create this view in the lakehouse. Yes, I used SQL to make the creation of this view. That's very interesting. That's very interesting that I used SQL to create this view. Okay. Let's try something else. What if I don't know SQL? I can create a visual query. In this case, I can create a visual query, make the same query in a visual way. Back sale. Okay, it's loading the dimension city. Okay, now I will merge queries, merge as new, merge the fact sale with dimension city by city key. So it's making an estimation. The fact sale is not a small table. It's not really a small table. I'm a bit impatient. I can click OK. So it made the match. So now that I created a match between fact sale and dimension city, then I can decide to make a group by. Let's group this data. Group this data by what? By state and province. Oh, sorry, just a moment. Let's the source the two tables. Okay. Let me show I can see all the fields. The dimension city is not expanded. It's like a secondary table. I need to expand to say here what fields I would like to see from dimension city. Well, I know that I want to use only the state and province. Here, this is the field that I want from dimension city. So I expanded the dimension city. Now I make the group by. Group by state province. No, it's not a count. Let's call total. And they'll make a sum of what field? The field profit from the sales. So I'm making a visual query and reaching the same result. There it is, state, province, total. So visual profit by state. Visual profit by state. So we can make the queries here, and I can model my lakehouse. Yes, I can model my lakehouse. I can build a model on my lakehouse. Let's take a look here. Employee. Let's link an employee with the salesperson key, employee key with salesperson key. Between employee and fact sale is one too many, is the opposite. Let's make the opposite. Salesperson key, employee key. Done. Now it understood. One employee too many fact sale item. Okay. Then the stock item has a key, stock item key. Stock item key. Okay. And then I can make the link with date. It makes an auto arrange that sometimes is a bit annoying. Some small bugs of this. So dimension city came here. Let's link dimension city. City key with dimension city. Okay. Dimension date. It will be linked with invoice date key. So we have a model. Fit the model. So we have a model designed in a lakehouse inside Power BI over Delta table. Yes, we have a model. What can we do with this model now? I can build a report. Let's build a report. New report. Just like that. Yes, just like that. I'm jumping to Power BI to build a report over the lakehouse. So we started this session in creating a lakehouse, ingesting the data, transforming the data in Delta. Then I modeled the data, and now I will use the model inside a Power BI report. I can build a Power BI report here. Let's get the ArcGIS maps, because there is one interesting construction we can do with the ArcGIS maps. I can put the state province's location and the profit field as the size of the items. So the size of the map is not completely adjusted. I would need to format a bit, but it's not intended to be extremely beautiful. The point is that we have a model here from the lakehouse that I just built, and I can build a Power BI report over this model. Let's save this. And where am I saving? I'm saving inside the same workspace, Lake Report 1, and save. So my report is saved inside the same workspace. Now I can take a look on the workspace and understand a bit better the elements that we built inside the workspace. We have the lakehouse. The feature endpoint feature of the lakehouse appears as an element inside my workspace. The fact that I built a modeling generates a data set, the full data set for the lake, and the full data set will be reused for any report connecting to the lake. I have my first report already built. The data pipeline we use it to first ingest the files, and the notebook that we use it to transform the files in tables inside the lakehouse. And this building a lakehouse inside the Power BI environment. This is a piece of what the Microsoft Fabric is, because I'm still on the experience of data engineering. What happens if I change my experience? What happens if I would like to work with data warehouse, for example? Data warehouse experience. So I have a warehouse here. So let's call Malta DW and create our warehouse. What's the difference? What's the difference of creating a lakehouse or a warehouse? Well, a lakehouse is more focused in file format. We have even the files area where we can have files of many different formats, while the warehouse is focused on a relational experience. The database experience in a warehouse is way deeper than in the lakehouse. In fact, we have more capabilities on the data warehouse in relation to SQL than what we can do in the lakehouse. The lakehouse is intended to have more work related to PySpark, related to files, and some SQL work. You can have some SQL work over the lakehouse, but not so deep SQL work. Here, I need to make the ingestion in the warehouse again. So I would need to create a new data pipeline, but I'll not do this again, the same again. Let's do it in a different way. Let's create a SQL query. I'll create a SQL query here, and I'll create the tables that are used for the ingestion. I'm copying the code here and creating these tables, creating dimension city and fact sale, and run. I'm ingesting from a source which is Parquet. So the name of the fields needs to be extremely precise for this ingestion to work. Let's call this query as create tables. The experience is similar as the lakehouse. I'm creating the tables. So schemas, DBOs, tables, the tables, they are empty. There is nothing on these tables yet. Nothing in these tables. Okay, now I'll create a new query to make the ingestion, and I make the ingestion directly in SQL. This that I'm exemplifying now, I can't do in the lakehouse. For example, I can't create a table in the lakehouse using the SQL endpoint. It's not possible. Only the warehouse supports DDL, supports a deep DDL. The DDL of the lakehouse is limited to the view creation, not table. Then I'm using the copy into table from and specifying the address of the blob storage, the packet files on the blob storage. And I will execute the entire script. Let's see how long it will take to execute. So we are seeing that we have data warehouse and lake houses here. While it's executing, it's interesting to talk a bit about concepts. Because if we talk about a lake house, many of us would think, oh, the lake house is my central point of data, my single source of truth. If we talk about the data warehouse, we would think about the same. Oh, the data warehouse is my single source of truth. Yes, but just a few years ago, the idea called data mesh was created. And the idea of data mesh is to break the single source of truth by domain. For example, sales, accounts, employees, break the subjects by domains. Domains inside the company, the domains, data domains managed by the company. And the Microsoft Fabric environment supports this idea extremely well. That's why, first, the lake house or the data house is not even close to be the biggest object that we create. In fact, inside the Power BI environment, we can have multiple lake houses, multiple warehouses. What the purpose of having multiple lake houses or multiple warehouses? The purpose is exactly to break the data by the concept of domain used in the data mesh theory. So the theory of data mesh can be applied. All these objects, the warehouse, lakehouse, dataset, and the custody database, yes, I'm not exemplifying this, but it can be created. All these objects have its data contained inside one single data repository, which is called OneLake. We are not seeing it, it's not visible to us, but all the storage of this data is inside the OneLake. All this data is being managed by the OneLake. And we can share data from one object to another. One lake house, one warehouse can share data to the lake house. The lake house can share data to the warehouse. This can happen between workspaces. Different departments of the company can have different workspaces, can be managing different workspaces, and these different workspaces can share data between them. That's the data mesh idea. And we can also link our environment with external data. I have not highlighted this too much, but inside the lake house, we can create what's called a shortcut. When we go inside the lake house, we can make a shortcut to storage. Either a storage in Azure or an Amazon S3, for example. So in this case, I'm not ingesting the data. All the example I did today was ingesting the data. If I create a shortcut, I'm not ingesting the data. I'm accessing the data from the place where the data is. I'm not ingesting to where we are. I'm accessing the data from where it is. And so we can make this link, creating this as a big data lake house. So the name OneLake for the storage containing all this data. So let's get back to our execution. The total execution time was 1 minute and 32 seconds. Let me highlight this. 1 minute and 32 seconds to load 501,000 rows. Correct? Switch, no, not too much. 50, 50, 50 million rows. 50 million rows. 500,000. No, 50 million rows, sorry. It's a so big number, it's difficult to read. Sorry. 50 million rows on the fact, and more 100,000 on the dimension. 50 million on the fact and 100,000 on the dimension on 1 minute and 32 seconds. This is the time it took to load this data. Is the data really there? Yes, the data is there. The data is there. We can see the fact sale here. The data is here. All the data is located here. We have the queries. We saw the queries environment. So I created a query for create table. I can create a second query for ingest data. And I also have the modeling option. I can also make the link with seed key. Okay. So I'm using the modeling option, created a model. In the same way, this generates a data set in the workspace, and we can use this to make a report. I can go to the ArcGIS again because I'm not so creative, and choose again state province as location and profit by size. Wait some moments while the visual refreshes, getting the data from the data warehouse. And it's interesting to note that, Power BI is just accessing the data. How is this access done? Is this direct query? Is this an import? That's the point. I said before, every feature which belongs to Microsoft Fabric was improved. Power BI was improved as well. Power BI before had the direct query mode. Direct query is when we access the data directly from the source. Direct query mode. We access the data directly from the source, but it is slower. See the steps that happen in the middle of a direct query process, it makes the execution of the report slower. But it's in some way it calls real time. It means that if the data changes in the lake, it immediately appears in the report. The import mode, on the other hand, is copying the data from the lake to the Power BI. It's extremely fast, but it has a copy of the data, so we need to shadow refreshes on this data for the data to be updated in relation to the lake. So what Power BI got as the new feature is the direct lake mode. The direct lake is a mix between direct query and import mode. And direct lake basically makes direct access to the content of the OneLake environment. The Power BI analysis service is able to make the scan directly to the content of the files of the OneLake. And in this case, it's fast as the import and real time as the direct query is the best of. It's like joining both models, both success models. So we have here the 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 map from the data warehouse. In fact, it seems maybe a bit faster because it refreshed the graph faster. Not saying that one is faster than the other. We have no information about that. And DW report 1. So I'm saving this report. And just to complete, showing something more, and you may have been noticing that this barely touches half of what we have, or half of what is possible in relation to this. Let me return to the workspace. And then I have here the data set over the DW. When creating a report over a data set, we have a option to auto create the report. So in this case, it's analyzing our data, discovering possible combinations on our data to make the generation of the report. And we can use this option to see if something useful comes back, because it will make many relations between different fields. And it becomes beautiful, but it's up to us to analyze if something really useful came back from the relation of the fields that was created. So here we have the auto creation of the report, trying to bring some information relating profit with value from, not really so useful. I saw that value from was a date and got it as a date, but it was not exactly the best option. Report DW report 2. Okay. So completing this presentation, I would like to leave for you many links, reference. You can take a print screen of these links. The first 3 are articles that I wrote. The last 3 are Microsoft Fabric community, where you find many other articles, many other information. So you can take a print screen of these. Some moments for that. Anyway, this is recorded. I will provide the record in a few days, and then my contacts again. It will be a pleasure to stay in touch. I'm understanding that most of you can't access the chat directly. You are watching, but you are not able to access the chat directly. So if you can provide me some kind of feedback on LinkedIn, Twitter, on any platform, this will be a pleasure. And it will be a pleasure as well to start a conversation about Microsoft Fabric on the group, either on the Facebook group or the meetup or the WhatsApp community that we have, WhatsApp group that we have. It will be a great pleasure to see you there and start a conversation about the Microsoft Fabric. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending this session. Thank you very much for attending this session, and see you on the next session. And by the way, if you have any suggestions about other subjects that you would like to see covered related to Microsoft Fabric, please send on the group, send to me, send on my Twitter, or even my email. My email is here as well. You can send by email as well, no problem. It will be a pleasure to get any feedback or any requests for future information. Thank you very much for attending. See you on the next one. Bye.